Good evening. Tonight I want to take you on a trip. Not just across time or distance, but into the small moments that decide the shape of a life. Picture with me, if you will, two airports, one in Tokyo, glass and neon and polite order, and later, an enormous hub in the United States, echoing with rolling suitcases and announcements in English. Our story travels between those terminals. Our guide is a single man, not a celebrity, not a billionaire, not a movie hero, just a human being with a single stubborn mission to go home. He has at one point exactly 10 rupees in his pocket, a coin and a note, hardly worth a meal in that city. Later, after fees and bad exchange rates, after the long, slow subtraction of bureaucracy and bus fare and a coffee he couldn't refuse because it warmed his hands, he ends up with $10. $10 is still $10. $10 does not buy a plane ticket from Tokyo to the United States. It doesn't buy a one-way ticket across the ocean, or the illusion of safety, or the quiet pride of arriving where you belong. This is not meant to be a sob story, it's meant to be a mirror. Because the man's situation, the way he faces it, the way people around him respond, and the choices he makes, echoes a much bigger truth about how we live, how we help, and how we fail to see value. Let's walk into that first terminal together. The Tokyo airport is a cathedral of efficiency. Signs hang like calm promises. Uniformed staff glide along polished floors. Trains of passengers move like a river in the right direction. Our man sits on a low bench beneath a huge advertisement for a smartphone. He is small in the vastness. His name, for the moment, doesn't matter. He looks exhausted, a face made of too many late nights and too few chances. He approaches people politely. He asks for help. "Excuse me, can you help me? I need to find a way home." She looks at her screen, at the cursor blinking like a heartbeat of productivity. She mouths a soft apology and shakes her head. "I'm late for a meeting," she says, and hurries past. He asks a family wheeling a stroller. "We can't," they say. A businessman shrugs, a tourist frowns. An employee repeats airport regulations like a script. Overhead, the announcement of departing flights pulses like a metronome. Gates, times, delays, calls to board. No one hears the small, desperate question, because our ears are tuned to our own noise. Or maybe we do hear, and we choose not to act. In airports, we practice anonymity. We are experts at avoiding the eyes that ask. We tell ourselves small truths. "I can't help. I'm in a hurry. I don't have cash." They probably shouldn't be asking. We put space between ourselves and human need, because it is easier to manage the world that way. But our man waits. He keeps asking. He stretches whatever dignity he has left across polished floors and kind faces that don't offer kindness. Now imagine that same man, weeks later, in a US airport. Again, he has asked. He has explained he needs to return to his home country. He has explained that his family is waiting. He has said that he has only $10. $10 to cross an ocean. To cross the distance that separates him from sleep in his own bed and the language and smells he knows. $10 to buy the moment he desperately wants. And again, people look away. A mother whispers to her child to not stare. A man with earbuds pretends he cannot hear. A couple embraces, thinking the world can be paused in their hug. I do not tell you this to make you ashamed. I tell you this because I want to be honest. Sometimes we see, and sometimes we decide our sympathy is conditional. We decide that our obligations stop at our schedule, at our comfort, at our judgment. But here is the thing about stories that matter. There are two halves to them. One is how the world refuses to bend. The other is how the world, sometimes in a single incandescent moment, fractures into generosity. Our man, after many tries and many closed doors, does something we can all do. He tells his story clearly and without shame. He explains the math. He shows his passport. He shows the little cash. He speaks of his mother waiting at home, of a son he hasn't seen in months. He talks about having been scammed, about losing his wallet, about the flight costs, the bank hold, the one airport worker who told him to come back tomorrow. Tomorrow that never came. And then, because, human stories need a hinge, a woman stops. She's not a philanthropist or a celebrity. She's a nurse who works nights at a hospital near the airport. She's been up all night. She's tired. But she has this habit. Whenever she can, she does one kind thing that saves someone's dignity. She owes no one an explanation. She asks the man where he needs to go. She opens her purse and she counts. She doesn't have the whole ticket. She does not fix everything. But she models what a single act can do. She buys a bus ticket to a nearby shelter so the man has a place to sleep that night, and a phone to call his family. This is crucial. Help does not need to be grand to be transformative. A bus ticket, a warm meal, a way to contact home. These are small things by some measures. But when you are standing on the edge of ruin, small things are everything. The nurse's act buys time. Time to call, time to plan, time to breathe. And now, let's zoom out. The man sleeps that night and wakes up to a stranger's kindness. He posts his story in a short video. He speaks softly and directly into his phone. I have $10. I need to go home. The video moves across networks, through timelines, across platforms where attention is currency. A retired teacher in Ohio sees it. An airline agent in Atlanta sees it. A group of students in California share it. Someone sends a direct message to a charity that works with stranded travelers. This is the second hinge, compassion multiplied. One human act becomes the seed of a chain reaction. People reach into their pockets and donate. Someone volunteers frequent flyer miles. A community organizer calls a journalist. Before long, a crowdfunding link becomes a steady trickle, then a flow, then enough. And within days, the man has a ticket home. I know what you're thinking. That's a convenient ending. It's also real. We have seen similar stories in the world. Human beings helping when institutions fail. And yet, I want to stay honest. Not everyone gets their ticket home. For every story with a happy ending, there are many quiet tragedies. So what do we take from the exceptions? We take the lesson that human kindness is not rare. It's distributed differently. It finds expression when someone tells the truth and someone else chooses to listen. But I want to spend more of our time on what the man himself did while he waited. Because the act of asking for help is itself an art. It's not passive. It's a deliberate refusal to disappear. There are 3 things he did that changed his prospects, and we can all learn them. First, he told the concise truth. Human beings respond to clarity. He didn't invent drama. He didn't embellish. He said what he needed. He explained others who relied on him. He made the problem tangible. When you can explain your need in plain language, you make it possible for others to help. Second, he preserved his dignity. He made eye contact. He was calm. He asked for assistance, rather than pleading for pity. People are far more likely to help someone who treats them with respect. Dignity is not only a moral good, it's practical. Keep your head up. Speak with clarity. Present your need as a fact, not a begging spectacle. Third, he made a plan. He wasn't asking for a miracle. He was asking for a bridge. He said, I need enough to buy a ticket to X, or a phone to call my family, or a seat on a bus to the shelter. He gave options. He gave people something to do. When you provide specific ways people can help, they can act. This is important for us listening in an American airport, in a kitchen, at a PTA meeting, or even on social media. So often, our failure to help isn't really about a lack of resources, it's more about confusion over what to do. When someone presents a clear action, we can actually take it. That, right there, is the gap between intention and impact. If you want to help, just ask the person who is struggling. What would actually change things for you right now? And if you hear an answer, do that. Now, I want to speak directly to the American audience here because honestly, the United States has a unique civic muscle. We really do pride ourselves on individual initiative and community support. But sometimes, that pride can become a bit of a shield. We tell ourselves institutions will solve things, or that market mechanisms will fix the problem, or that government should step in. And while, sure, systems matter, systems are slow, people are fast. The nurse who bought the bus ticket didn't have to watch a committee meeting or wait for policy to change. She just acted. So, here is a modest proposal. Bring your best instincts into those small places. Step into the discomfort of an ask. If you can donate, do. If you can give time, do. If you can offer information, a phone call, an airline contact, a link, do. Don't wait for the headline, don't wait for the viral video, act when you see. But let us also be strategic. Charity without strategy can be temporary and, honestly, kind of messy. The man's story ends well because a few people combined compassion with competence. The airline agent helped by checking policies. A charity organizer helped by routing funds. A teacher helped by mobilizing her network. When compassion meets mechanism, outcomes improve. Find the organizations that do this work. Shelters, traveler assistance programs, nonprofits, and support them. Encourage airports to build rapid response funds for stranded travelers. Advocate for policies that allow compassionate exceptions when someone is trying to return home. But let us also be strategic. Charity without strategy can be temporary and messy. The man's story ends well because a few people combined compassion with competence. The airline agent helped by checking policies. A charity organizer helped by routing funds. A teacher helped by mobilizing her network. When compassion meets mechanism, outcomes improve. Find the organizations that do this work. Shelters, traveler assistance programs, nonprofits, and support them. Encourage airports to build rapid response funds for stranded travelers. Advocate for policies that allow compassionate exceptions when someone is trying to return home. Now, back to our man as he finally boards his flight. Seat 27A, window. He looks out at the lights shrinking across the tarmac as the plane taxis. He thinks of his mother, of the smell of rice at dinner, of the small patch of garden he planted next to his home. He thinks of all the moments in between where he failed and where he tried. He folds the story into his palms like a fragile thing. As he lands back in his country, people cheer, not because his story was unique, but because it was human. He hugs his mother. She cries into his shoulder, and the two of them laugh and cry at once. The raw music of reunion. The man does not become famous. He does not write a book. He returns to work and to life with a new edge, a commitment to pay forward the kindness that saved him. Here's the thing. This is the closing lesson. Kindness is not a one-time payment. It's a currency that compounds. When we act with empathy and responsibility, we build networks of trust that repay us in ways no bank can measure. When you help one person, you do not simply change their life. You make it more likely that they will help another, and another after that. And you know, that is how communities heal. So, what can you do right now? Let me be practical. First, if you see someone in an airport or on the street who needs help, ask 2 questions. Are you safe? And how can I help? Don't invent solutions for them. Let them tell you what will make a difference. Second, carry small tools of help. A portable charger to let someone call home, a note of local shelter numbers saved on your phone, a folded cash emergency fund for immediate needs. These aren't magic, but honestly, they are options. Third, build your own small response network. If you're part of a community group, a church, or a workplace, set up a small emergency fund for helping stranded travelers or neighbors in crisis. Pool energy and resources. Teach your children civic empathy. Let them see you help. Let them see that help is practical, not performative. Support organizations that have both compassion and capacity. Donate time, money, or expertise to charities that work with migrants, stranded travelers, and people in crisis. And here is something else I want you to remember. Sometimes the barriers standing between someone and their next step are not financial. They are legal, social, emotional. A phone call that clears a misunderstanding. A printed boarding pass taken to the counter. A sympathetic voice on the other end of a line. The point is this: help is not always money. Help can be a piece of information, a moment of attention, a redirection to the right person. Before I finish, I want to make sure we do not leave with a false confidence. Not every problem has a tidy ending. Systems fail, people fail. But that does not absolve us, it invites us. If we can be the people who close the gap between despair and possibility, then we have done something radical. We have become the kind of society that catches those who fall. Our man, who began with 10 rupees and ended with $10 and then a ticket and then a home, teaches us the shape of true courage. His courage was not only in asking, it was in staying human during the asking. It was in maintaining dignity. It was in not letting the shame of scarcity define his story. But he also teaches us the responsibility of those who have means to act. So the next time you find yourself rushing through an airport, look up. Practice the small habit of noticing. If you can give, give. If you cannot give money, give information or time. If you can't do anything in the moment, amplify. Share a post, tell a friend, connect someone with a resource. Kindness is a muscle. Use it. We live in a world that often asks us to choose between compassion and efficiency. But the man in the terminals, and the nurse, and the retired teacher, and the airline agent show us something else. Compassion is efficiency. It is the human algorithm that rearranges scarcity into possibility. Let me close with a line I want you to carry home. Whether you are an airport worker, a traveler, a parent, a student, or anyone who will, at some point, cross someone else's path, small acts, when multiplied, become lifelines. $10 is not nothing. $10 does not solve every problem. But $10 and 10 minutes of attention, and a willingness to act, can keep hope alive until a better solution arrives. That is the power we hold in our everyday pockets. So, go home tonight with this promise: when you see need, you will not look away. When you can act, you will. And when you are helped, you will help someone else. Thank you.